Up to heaven, and I thank the Lord just for letting me make it through another night. And I say it's so good.
Amazing. Thank y'all so much for joining us. My name is Nina Gurak, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm the policy director with Healthy and Free Tennessee, and we were really excited to have this conversation with the Middle Tennessee Black Gun Club. And if you don't know, this is a 3-part conversation, so today is just part 1. You can come back tomorrow and Thursday at the same time for part 2. We're so excited to welcome the Tanea and Denzel from the Middle Tennessee Black Gun Club to talk a little bit more about guns. And today we're going to get into responsible gun ownership. So might as well get started. So can y'all tell me a little bit more about yourselves and the Middle Tennessee Black Gun Club?
Sure, I'll kick it off. Can y'all hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Thumbs up. That's what's up. What's up, everybody? It is Tanea, aka Madam President of the Middle Tennessee Black Gun Club. We out here in the Middle Tennessee area serving it up, trying to get our people trained, responsible, knowledgeable about the laws, the policies that go behind it, the functions of the gun, all kind of good stuff. We came together to get it started because there's definitely a need out here. Denzel and myself were training on our own. We have our own separate businesses, and we were out here getting women trained and fellas trained and children. And we decided, you know what, let's try to make it more cost effective because training can be expensive. It is expensive. Just even getting the tools that you need to train, the ammunition, stuff like that, that stuff can start to add up. So we figured if we start a gun club, we can reach out to more people, figure out who's out here on the same mindset and wavelength that we're on, and bring our forces together to be able to better serve the community, specifically the Black community. I mean, you know, everybody's good, but we definitely seen a need for the Black community to get right. So again, Tanea, Madam President of the Middle Tennessee Black Gun Club. She's a shooter.
Hey y'all, my name's Denzel, pronouns he, him, his. I am the Sergeant at Arms for the Middle Tennessee Black Gun Club. And the only thing I'll add to that is that Tanea and I, in addition to what she said, we saw a need for an intervention in this current moment as it related to firearms. It's definitely no secret that this country has a very messy, complicated history in association with firearms, and particularly as relates to Black communities. This is a tool that has a very complex and contradictory history and relationship. And so we understood that it has caused a lot of pain, and at the same time, it has been a tool for liberation and a tool for social change. And so part of what we're doing is we're actually continuing in the history, in the historical tradition of the Black Arms tradition, one that was started very centuries ago when we were forced onto ships to be forcibly brought here to the States. So
Kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Jesse. I see one of our members on here representing. We see you, Jesse. We'll see you Saturday.
Yeah. Well,
thank you so much for that, some of that context and history about the club and about what y'all do. So, you know, you mentioned that you want to make sure that folks are trained and really like responsible gun owners. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about what responsible gun ownership looks like and how, like, what do you teach your members and, you know, what should we all think about when we think about responsible gun ownership?
Well, that's definitely an area that I focus on heavy, being a responsible firearms owner. Because you can go to jail real fast. You can get locked up quick just for possession of a firearm, mishandling it, not even shooting somebody, but just not knowing what you're doing, being in the wrong spaces with it, not carrying it correctly, negligence. So when we talk about being a responsible firearms owner, there's a lot that goes with that. One of the things I'll jump on, and then I'll let Denzel, we'll kind of go back and forth. The gun is just a part of it. So our focus is not just the gun, it's self-defense, right? It's taking care of your community. So being trained, especially if you have a firearm in your home or you conceal carry, in other aspects such as stop the bleed. If you're going to be able to put a hole in somebody or possibly yourself, hopefully not, or, in a gunfight, however it happens, you need to know how to stop the bleed, which goes further than that. We have tourniquets, the wound packing, which that's something we do teach and will be teaching through the club as well. CPR and AED, skills like that. Our communities, we have to be our first responders, right? And really that's any community, but unfortunately in a lot of marginalized communities, it's going to take a while before they get there, so being able to help your community members, Big Mama mess around and go into cardiac arrest, or blood pressure high and she fall out, and a lot of times our grandmothers, aka Big Mama, is keeping the kids, so even training our kids is important. So that's some of the other things. Pepper spray, we teach that. So the gun, we want it to be the last resort. So being responsible with that is other things like situational awareness, just being very aware of your surrounding, what's going on. Trusting, especially my ladies, trusting that instinct, that gut instinct that lets you know something is not right. When your spidey senses tap in, you need to be paying attention. So we do teach like the color codes of awareness, and what that looks like when you have a firearm on you. One thing I've heard other instructors say is like when you have a firearm on you, you're always in the wrong. So if you bump me, it's my bad. If if you talking crazy to me, you got it, because I have the deadly weapon on me. And if this thing escalates, then I have to make a decision whether it gets pulled out or not. And that comes with court and police sirens and things that I don't want any parts of. So that goes into conflict avoidance, being able to de-escalate and walk away, and know that you're the bigger person. You don't let your ego, what one of my instructors said, your ego is not your amigo. It's not your friend. It's most of the times. So little things like that is part of being a responsible gun owner, being able to control your emotions, being aware of what your surroundings are, and having other skill sets that complement the firearm. So there's other things, and I'm gonna let Denzel jump in and throw some stuff in there too.
Yeah, so I just really want to reiterate just what Madam President led with. Like, Madam President didn't lead with, oh, first you got to get your gun, and then you got to, no, we started off with what I like to call essential life-saving skills. So stop the bleed, CPR, AED, first aid, because our position as a club is that we're trying to promote community safety. And on a individual level, like self-defense. And self-defense, when we often hear that, we think of fighting and defending against attack, but it's actually a lot more expansive than that. We're also thinking about just general protection of life. So sometimes that could mean, hey, I got a really bad cut in the kitchen and I'm bleeding a lot. I need to know how to stop the bleed. Or like you said, a family member's choking. I need to know how to deal with these particular emergencies to protect life, right? And so that's the core theme of our work, and just as our mission as our organization. Like, we're not, despite popular narratives about gun clubs and gun owners, we're not trying to put a gun in everybody's hand, right? That's not the purpose of what we're doing. What we're doing is we're trying to create competent ownership and a sense of self-protection as well as community protection. So with that being said, of some of the additional things that come with, and I'm going to actually do this in a sequential order after you have gone through those essential life-saving skills, taking time to study your state and federal law when it comes to firearm ownership and self-defense. When you are talking about, and then I know we'll probably get into that a little bit later, but you do that, you're taking classes on basic handgun fundamentals. You're taking a class, and this is prior to ownership. I do want to note that this is prior to ownership. So you're learning the rules of firearm safety. You're learning marksmanship. You're learning the difference between staging a firearm in your home versus storing it, and the importance of storing it. And then once you do that, okay, now you're ready to purchase a firearm, but there are certain criteria that you want to meet in order to intelligently purchase a firearm, right? And then afterwards, concealed carry permit, go through that process, get that done. There's also things like legal coverage, self-defense legal coverage for you and your family in the unlikely, unfortunate event that you engage in a self-defense situation. And then lastly, it's, outside of avoiding unnecessary conflict and de-escalating when possible, it's also like making training and education a part of your lifestyle. And that's one of the things that we're very clear about. Unfortunately, that is not a common practice in the larger firearm ownership community, consistent training and education. But that's something that we emphasize as a club. So that looks like training with your particular firearm, taking different classes, home defense, concealed carry, and then it also includes continuing to refresh your skills for the essential life-saving skills. So you should be taking your Stop the Bleed first aid classes as much, if not arguably more, than you are doing with your firearm, because again, you're most likely to run into a Stop the Bleed situation or first aid situation than a firearm related scenario.
I want to jump in and back it up a little bit. When he talked about learning like the fundamentals and operating the gun, your basic handgun knowledge, you do that multiple times. Right. Sometimes people think they take the class once and now they think they're ready. They want to roll around on the ground and move and shoot and draw from a holster. And that's great. And you can get to that. But when you're a beginner, you need to realize you're a beginner. And so building those fundamentals and those techniques and mastering them. So we do things like dry firing practice where there's no ammo in the gun and it's helping you to get that sight alignment down, that trigger press down. So there's a lot of little techniques that go with operating your firearm and understanding your firearm before you start moving to the next levels of training. Because sometimes we go to trainings, say like Denzel went to fighting while injured, right? Mm-hmm. But people show up that have never used a gun. You're ahead of yourself. You need to start with the basics because you have to learn how to operate it first before you can do those other things. And so that's my baby. I love teaching. I love teaching the babies. I love the newbies. I keep it right there. I'm not teaching you how to draw out your holster. I'm not doing any of that. I want to get you mastered at the basics, and then we move to the next step, which would be drawing from your holster. And there's different holsters and accessories that come with guns. So it's like Denzel was saying, it's a continuous learning situation when you own a firearm.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you so much. That was really informative. I know I learned a lot. I did just have like some follow-up questions.
You went mute.
Went mute.
There's some background
noise.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. Just some follow-up questions around terminology in case folks who are joining might not be familiar with some of the terms. Or like, what is the purpose of that training and what does it look like a little bit?
Yeah, I don't mind. When we talk about Stop the Bleed, this is a particular subsection of first aid training. So oftentimes in first aid training, you're talking about various emergencies that are associated with bleeding, with shock, or heat stroke or hypothermia, things of that sort. Stop the Bleed is a particular subsection of first aid training that focuses on stopping life-threatening bleeding. So this is bleeding that comes from the arteries, bleeding that would otherwise lead to immediate death within seconds or minutes. And so what that looks like knowing how to use a tourniquet. And this is a device that's used on the limbs to stop bleeding on the arms and legs. This looks like using things such as chest seals to, as the name suggests, stop the bleeds that may be coming from the chest or torso area, and other devices that do various different things, but the primary purpose of it is to prevent life-threatening bleeding following a really traumatic injury, which can be a firearm, a round going through the body, but it can also be something else like a major fall or amputation. Exactly.
Probably tourniquets are probably used the most in car accidents.
Exactly.
And it's an IFAK individual first aid kit. You can get them on Amazon, or you can support a Black business and go to stillstandingllc.com. Shout out to Doc. Who's our instructor that got us certified, and he sells the whole kit. That's going to have your tourniquet, your chest seals. It's going to have the wound packing, the gloves, the scissors, like things, and even little things like 4 baby aspirin. Like, keep things like that in your purse. If somebody falls out, has a stroke, or, is having a heart attack, you need 4 baby aspirins to start helping them out. Packs of sugar, packs of honey. Don't put jelly in your purse, ladies, but honey, things like that. Like myself, I have diabetes, so when my blood sugar is crashing, and a lot of times I say I'm a bad diabetic, I don't even have snacks myself, but those are little simple things that you can carry with you that's gonna help you. Now, no, Jesse, the packs of honey is not in the in the IFAK and the 4 baby aspirin, but you can add it, or you can have it additional to that. But the IFAK itself is going to come with more of the things for stopping wounds due to severe bleeding.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that clarification. I was also just wanted to follow up a little bit on Denzel, your comment about like storing versus staging a firearm. And I was wondering if you could share a little bit more for folks who might not be familiar with that terminology.
Yeah, so storing versus staging, this is something that we talk about in our home defense classes. So if you're interested, holler at us. But storing is the act of placing your firearm into a storage container, one that renders it unusable. So the whole purpose of storing it is to put it away where folks who don't need to touch it don't touch it. It's not able to be used immediately, right? And so that's the key part of storing. Staging
even in the car.
I'm sorry?
Even in your car.
Even in your car.
I was going to lock boxes, things like that.
Yeah, even in your car.
Right.
Even in your car or anywhere where you are legally residing. Staging is the process of placing your firearm in a area in your home or your car or anywhere where you're legally allowed, that is accessible and ready to you to use once you grab it. So, for example,
when it's go time.
So maybe having a pistol in a certain easy to open container beside your drawer, or a shotgun in the closet. That would be an example of staging, as opposed to storage, which is when it's typically in a big locked away safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so staging is not complicated. I'm not that he complicated it, but like, you know, maybe your gun's under your pillow. Guilty. That's how I sleep at night. You know, you might have it under your sofa. You might have it racked. Some people have secret compartments. There's furniture that's specific for staging guns. So when it goes down and somebody kicking your door or you hear that bump in the middle of the night, you're not pressing buttons trying to open a safe. And some people do that. Only thing I have to say about that is you better train opening that safe quick, you know. So every aspect of how your gun, even if where you stage it, if it's under the couch, dry fire, that you need to practice that so that you're ready and it just clicks in, you know. You don't want to be fumbling when it's time to go.
Got it. Thanks so much for clarifying that again. So kind of going back to responsible firearms ownership, who are responsible firearms owners? You know, what do you, what are you kind of experiencing in your communities about who folks are who are responsible gun owners?
Well, the community I ride with, most of them are, because that's the community I'm with now. I always say now I don't really hang out with people that don't drain anymore, because I'm not your superhero. If I'm strapped, you need to be strapped too if we hanging out. But anyways, who are fire? So the things we broke down. So the people that do have their concealed carry, they are training, they are keeping up with the policies and the laws as they're coming down. I would say a responsible firearm owner is somebody who shares that information and that makes sure their community is safe and that the people around them. If you have a gun in your home and there are other people in your home, giving them knowledge. You know, if you have kids, I hear a lot of people, they store their guns in the house because they have kids, so they don't stage, and that's cool. I'm not saying anything's wrong with that, but if you're gonna have a gun in your home, to me, you need to educate your children on it. You know, you need to speak about how deadly it can be. You know, what negligence is, for them not to mess with it. But I would also start teaching them, you know, starting with safety and how to properly handle it. Because if there's a gun in your home, when they go stay the night somewhere else at a family member's home, at a friend, or they're just going to visit, or they're hanging out, and somebody just shows up with a gun, you know, how would your child respond to that? You know what I mean? So being a responsible gun owner to me is definitely sharing the knowledge.
Yeah. I think it's important here at this point to also talk through preconceived notions of gun owners. Because to answer your question, it's a person who understands exactly what a firearm is. Like, it's not a toy. It's something that is used for three purposes: hunting, self-defense, and competition. And they understand that it can take a life, right? And so part of that, a large part of that, you know, just to reemphasize what Tanea already said, is like people behaving that way. So these people, what these people are not doing is they're abiding by the rules of firearm safety, right? They're at all times. They're not treating it as a toy. They're not playing around with it. They're not trying to do stuff that's in the movies or anything like that. They understand that this is a real life tool, and that anything, if they're not being careful, can go wrong really quickly. I also think, you know, responsible gun owners aren't obsessed with trying to put a gun in everybody's hand. And that's not something that's popular to say, but it is what it is. This is somebody who understands that there's a particular type of lifestyle, way of thinking that you have to have in order to be a firearm owner. Otherwise, you're a threat to yourself and other people around you, right? And so, yeah, I think that's a huge thing, and we can't emphasize enough the importance of educating those around you, because one of the things that we often talk about people who have firearms and are being negligent, but honestly, people who are not educated around firearms and don't possess them and are near them are just as dangerous, if not more. The people around you who are not training, who don't know the essentials of firearm ownership or handling, but they're around you, they could do a thing that could lead to a negligent discharge if you're not careful, or lead to putting you, the person who's an owner, in danger if they're not educated. So yeah, just like Tanea said, like, it's important that everyone around you is educated, because again, ignorance is not sound strategy.
And I want to add this, since we keep saying gun safety, there are 4 gun safety rules that will help you to maintain your responsibility as a firearm owner. And one of them is treat every gun as if it's loaded. So if you see a gun, you pick up a gun, even if it's your gun, you're always checking it. Which it's rack and the slide. You can Google firearm safety rules, but to make sure there's not a round in the chamber, or if there is, that you're aware that the magazine is full, that this thing is ready to go. So you're always handling it as if it's loaded. The second one is keep the muzzle pointed in the safest direction. So that way, if there is a negligent discharge, or if I'm at the range or somewhere and I'm training and it does go off prematurely, I'm okay with whatever that round hits. It's going to survive. It's not going to hit somebody. The third one is keep your finger off the trigger until you are ready to shoot, right? So a lot of times, if you watch on TV and things like that, they'll already have their finger already on the trigger, or even if you just see how people handle, like when you pick up a spray bottle, it's just natural for your finger to start, move in a certain way. So that's something we definitely train, is when you're not ready to shoot, and that is not the goal, that finger is not only not on the trigger, but not in the trigger guard. And then the fourth one is know your target and beyond. So especially when you're out here training, whether you're shooting outdoors or indoors, you need to know exactly what you're aiming at, that whatever it's going into is sturdy enough or can handle the compact. It's not going to go through something. If you're outdoors, the things aren't going to be running, because I'm out here in the country. So, a rabbit, a deer or something might just jump. Now, animals are smarter than we think, so they hear the shots, they know what we out there doing, they tend to stay away. But you never know. You have kids, somebody might just take off running, come up on you, and you have to be prepared for knowing what's around you and what's going on when you're shooting. So when we say gun safety, that's essentially what we're talking about, is how you're handling the weapon at all times and being aware of how it's being handled.
Yeah. So I know there's probably a pretty extensive list, but can you share a little bit more about the types of firearms that maybe like you or folks in your club use and how they differ? Just because sometimes when we're talking about guns can feel like, one term for a really wide category of tools, and I think, and maybe also a little bit why that's important to recognize the difference between firearms.
Yeah. So I can speak to just generally, I'll speak to what an average person in Tennessee can purchase, and what's available out there that's legal. And I want to start off by saying that you can break them down into these rough categories. You have handguns, which can be revolvers, or what we call semi-automatic handguns. You have rifles, and those come in various forms, shotguns, and what's called carbines, which are just long pistols, honestly. The main thing that I think is important to take away, that we have to bring up is there's a difference between what's called a semi-automatic firearm and a fully automatic firearm. A semi-automatic firearm is a firearm where you press the trigger, it goes bang, and then you have to allow the trigger to reset, and then you have to press it again. That is a semi-automatic firearm. Fully automatic firearm is a firearm where you can press the trigger and it will continue to shoot until you stop. Semi-automatic firearms are the firearms that everyone who is legally able to purchase a firearm can purchase. There are so many restrictions, and in a lot of places it's illegal to have fully automatic firearms, especially as civilians. So I just want to clarify that, like, those weapons that people tend to reference are not easily available. But again, the type of firearms that one can own in Tennessee include handguns, rifles, shotguns, and carbines.
Mm-hmm. Jesse has a question. Says, would you recommend purchasing a used firearm?
I think it depends. I think it largely depends. You have to ask questions from the former owner around just about the condition they've kept it in. First off, what type of firearm is it? Can you have it? Because that's the first thing, because we shouldn't even be having this conversation if it's something you can't have. But if you can, what type is it? How often is it being used? And then go take it to a gunsmith and get them to inspect it and see how good of condition that it's in, if it needs to be fixed or something like that, before considering purchasing it. But the answer is it depends.
And I'll be honest, I don't know that there's a way to check this. I'm sure there is, but that serial number, you need to make sure that gun doesn't have bodies on it.
Right.
Just hasn't been used in a crime. You're potentially setting yourself up to have a gun that has been used in a crime. So if somebody in the comment that's out there listening knows, how you can check on that, or if you can with the serial number, that's definitely something. Make sure the serial number is still on there for sure. But I feel like if you're a beginner and you're still learning about guns, I wouldn't purchase a used one unless it was from somebody I trust and they could show me, kind of how to maneuver with the gun. Because, man, we've had some wild guns show up to class. I'm talking about, seemed like it came from the 1800s, stuff that I just look at. I'm like, I don't know what that is, and I don't know what to do with that. But the crazy and scary part to me is I'm somebody that deals with firearms, and when I don't know what it is, and I had to bleep myself almost, and they for sure don't know what it is. Why is this in your possession? Why is this at the house? I've had people show up, and so I'm about to go on a little tangent, so y'all just bear with me. So I'm gonna just talk black to y'all. I'm gonna need y'all to stop giving people in your family, especially women, men, y'all tend to give women a gun, your daughters, your sisters, your wife, your mom, your whoever, as a gift, or because they live by themselves and you think they need to be protected, and you're not showing them how to use it. That makes absolutely no sense to me. I mean, it keeps my pockets fat because they come train with me. But when they bring me the gun, sometimes there's ammo in the gun, or it's old ammunition in the gun. They're totally afraid of this gun. It's too big for them. It doesn't work for them. And somebody else has gone and made it their business to go either purchase a new one or give them something and not show them how to use it. Back to being a responsible gun owner. That's not being responsible. If I'm going to give somebody with a firearm, you best believe I'm going to take them to the range. I'm going to show them how to use it. I'm going to make sure they understand the laws. They have the accessories they need. They understand how to be safe with it. Like you are the responsible one. You just handed over a deadly weapon. Just because they're grown doesn't mean they won't hurt themselves. So we have to be back to that responsible firearm ownership. We have to be responsible. wherever that gun goes. So if it's transferring ownership, then you need to make sure the person you're giving that gun to is ready for a firearm, not because you want them to have it and you think they should have it because they live by themselves. Get them some pepper spray. You know, let's start small. Go get them some boxing classes or something, but stop with this urge to go buy women guns and not show them how to use it. Rant over.
Oh, thank you. That's really important knowledge. And you did, both of you kind of really addressed this topic, but I don't know if anyone had any additional thoughts or concerns about why it's important for everyone to know about responsible gun ownership and guns. And also maybe it sounds like y'all might teach classes, but I do see a question in the comments about like people who aren't necessarily ready or interested in owning a firearm, but want to be responsible, want to step up and learn what they need to learn. Where can they turn to do that?
Yeah, so I could jump in. Why is it important to know for everyone to know about responsible gun ownership? You probably heard this a million times before, but in the U.S., there's more guns than people. They're not going to be wished away. Like, it's not, guns are not a matter of belief. They are a material reality. And so with that unavoidable fact, what do? Do we pretend that they're not there and risk, making a decision that could cost somebody's life? Or do we decide, hey, let's be clear about what is here. Let's learn and understand how it works so that we can keep ourselves safe. Everybody doesn't have to own a firearm, but we are that much safer if everybody understands how they function, how to properly manage and use them, what our laws look like, so that the conversations are more critical. Our interactions with each other in our households and elsewhere are a lot more safe, because ignorance is never a key ingredient in terms of a sound strategy, no matter what the topic is. And so I think firearms are no different, right? I think it's important that everybody knows some of the fundamentals. I'm not saying that everybody necessarily has to be a master in this subject, but you need to have a basic competency on how they work, how to handle them safely, and what to do with them, whether you own one or not. You can never own one in your life, but if you learn how to use them, if you learn how they work, you are a responsible person that is helping to ensure that folks around you are that much safer because you at least took the time to understand that. And I think that's something we have to emphasize, not only as the person who is so adamant about buying a gun, but also the person who doesn't want to touch guns. It is your responsibility. It is your duty to the folks around you to understand how they work, because they're here whether you like it or not.
Mm-hmm. And one thing we left off about being a responsible firearm owner, when it comes to storing, especially in the car, quit putting that gun in the console, in the glove compartment, because especially Middle Tennessee, Nashville, you're crazy. Stolen guns out of car has gone up so much, and you're leaving your doors unlocked because you rather not your window get busted out if somebody's trying to break into your car. Well, then keep the gun out the car. If you are going somewhere and you can't have your gun on you, take it in you, then you need to have a lockbox. You need to have somewhere safe within your car that if somebody does break into your car, they cannot get a hold to that. And I'm a little bit disgusted with the penalties in Tennessee for if your gun is stolen. It's so small, maybe like $200 or something like that. I think the fines need to be bigger to really tap into people that this is major. Somebody breaks into your car, gets in your car, and they steal your firearm, and now they're out here on the streets with this gun that can, they can literally terrorize people with, kill somebody with, rob somebody with. I would like to see some harsher penalties that come with that, because these are your regular everyday people, you know, Bob and them, that's allowing this to happen. These are the people in your richer, finer neighborhoods where carjacking and, you know, theft is going to be more prominent than in your low income area. So this is where guns are being stolen from, the people that got money. The people that drive the nicer cars, those communities. So we need that community to step their game up and either lock it up when it's in your car or take it out of the car when you get out the car. I'm gonna fuss.
No, thank you for that. Yeah, I think that's helpful context too, because I didn't really know about that, but I definitely have heard of guns being stolen out of cars. So that's helpful to know a little bit more about, for sure. Okay, so we are getting close to the end of time, and I just want to let folks know this conversation is not over. I'm really excited to be tomorrow and Thursday. Tomorrow we're going to be talking a little bit more about all the context and historical context and everything you need to know that kind of, you know, gives us these responsible gun ownership principles, and to talk about kind of, you know, our history with guns. So I'm really excited about that conversation. And then Thursday, we are going to get into a little bit more about gun policy, about the laws and kind of everything like that ahead of our special session in Tennessee. So just wanted to thank you both so much. And then also wanted to ask, where can folks find the Middle Tennessee Black Gun Club? You know, they're really excited. They've learned a lot, want to join or support or anything like that. Where can folks find you?
Yes. So Instagram, you can find us on MIDTN BGC. That's an Instagram page. That's the same thing for Twitter, MIDTN BGC, and then on Facebook, Middle Tennessee Black Gun Club.
And then we have an awesome website. How dare you not mention that? www.midtnbgc.com, where you can get merchandise, you can donate, you can become a subscriber, which gives you access to our online information, as well as some discounts when we have some trainings. Now, membership is exclusive, so you'll have to be a subscriber first. We're not just letting anybody in, you know, but because we want responsible gun owners and people that are ready to serve the community. So if you are interested in being a member, you know, we are growing, just coming out the gates, getting started. But we do want to maintain a certain standard within our membership. So there is a process, but you can subscribe all day long, and that would definitely help us to be able to get more equipment, to keep our fees and prices down for our trainings, or to be able to pay instructors to come in and host the type of trainings that people want, you know, outside of just the basics. So yeah, definitely go to the website, purchase some merch, be fresh out here in these Middle Tennessee streets. And yeah, and then we have a range day actually coming up this Saturday, August the 5th. So you do have to register to find the location. It will be in Nashville, but it's a range meetup. So it's just a bunch of us getting together so we can socialize and network with the community. So if you have an interest and see, okay, is this something I want to be a part of, our range meetups would be a great place to start, to get to know the leadership, the crew, and meet some cool people in the community that are stepping up and want to be responsible gun owners.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and for your wisdom and sharing everything with us today. And for folks who might have even more questions, look out for an additional post we'll be sharing today. So you can ask some questions there and we'll get to them tomorrow for sure. So thank you, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much.
Thank you, everybody. Shout out. We see you out there in Virginia tapped in. We love y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Up to heaven, and I thank the Lord just for letting me